Hello, everyone. I'm an addict. My name is Ron B. I am from the Richmond area of Narcotis Anonyomus in the state of Virginia. This is our very first convention. We decided to do this video to honor some of our predecessors that got us to where we are today. If it wasn't for them, I know I wouldn't be here. And this convention probably would not be taking place. So as a result of that, we have a few pictures and a few people to speak on behalf of our area and those who set the path for us to be here today. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Jeff H. Um, my clean date is April 11th, 1983. Well, I'd like to step back a little bit further if I could. Um, my first meeting was in 1979, and the gentleman that started the first meeting in Richmond brought a meeting to me about 6 months later. His name was Eddie M. Eddie was 19 years old, and he started the first meeting in Richmond in April or May of 1979.
I am Linda C. My clean date is January 3rd, 1985. I've been clean since that day. I haven't found it necessary to use since that day. I've got one welcome key tag and it was hot pink. I still have it.
My name is Moses. My clean date is 1/4/82.
My name is Eli M. I'm a recovering addict. The clean date, January 85.
I'm an addict. Zed, my clean date is July 20th, 1984.
John S. August 10th, 1982. I got clean in August 10th, 1982, while stationed with the 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, Fleet Marine Force. So I'm actually got clean in the Marine Corps.
Well, when I got clean, I was in full-blown denial, and it took some time for them to even convince me that I was an addict. I thought that the problem was my first husband, who was definitely an addict, and I was willing to admit that he was, but I didn't see myself as being an addict.
I was what they say, emotionally, spiritually, physically bankrupt. I was at the end of the road. I was begging somebody, please help me. You're not a gangster. You're not a black nationalist. You are a spoiled baby boy dope fiend. And we want to help you to find out who you are. I think the defining moment why I got clean was that after being arrested 12 times, 4 times in foreign countries, I was 23 years old. I'd been deployed twice. I had a 3rd deployment coming. My battalion commander, he said, look, Marine, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 choices. You can either go to the brig, get a bad kind of discharge, or you can go to rehab. And the 2 things I knew about the brig was that the food sucked and the women were fake. So I went to rehab.
Well, my first attempt to getting clean was really difficult. In the 80, I was going to meetings, and there was one meeting in the town that I lived in Farmville, and there was 2 meetings here in Richmond. I had a pretty long road with incarceration, and I didn't spend a lot of time, but I had a lot of charges. When I got introduced to the fellowship earlier, I got a taste of recovery. And then after about a 2-year relapse, I knew where to go. And so I came back.
Last time out, standing beside a car with no gas in it, watching the people that were supposed to be my friends leave, and being left out on the street.
Meetings there were only a few meetings. There were two H&I meetings. It was McGuire's and St. John's. Those were the two H&I meetings. None of the prisons or jails had meetings. To go to a meeting every day, I either had to do the other fellowship on the in-between days, or we would go to the beach. We would go to Norfolk. We would go to Charlottesville. We would go to D.C. We would go to Baltimore. All during the week, we'd just pile up in the car and go.
I was able to go through to some meetings. Most importantly, when I got here, they had this message about this was a spiritual, not religious program, and they kept telling you about working the steps and the spiritual essence of NA. And
December '83, I believe it took me about a week to find where the NA meetings were, maybe two at the most. So I went to the other meetings, the other fellowship. But I realized it won't but a handful of meetings. There might have been four meetings, 5 meetings at the most per week, and they were sparsely attended. And that's when I realized, see, I'm one of those people, when I got clean, I didn't know there was a difference in programs or fellowships. I was that sick, that twisted, because in rehab, we went everywhere. They use the term clean and sober. You go where you can get a meeting. And when I come home to Richmond, for some reason in Hawaii, I thought they had big NA meetings and plenty of them. The truth is, they only had a couple. I just didn't really, the difference didn't comprehend to me. So there just weren't that many NA meetings in
Richmond. There was Survivors. Survivors is the oldest meeting in Richmond. It got started in '79 at Easy Pace. It stayed there for approximately a year and moved to St. John's over on Franklin. And then the second meeting that started was the candlelight meeting at the cathedral on Morris Street, and that was a Friday night meeting at 10:30. And those were the meetings that started the first couple of meetings that were in Richmond. I didn't stay clean from that point forward. I did relapse and come back in '83. And then when I came back in '83, there was the Survivors meeting. It was still at St. John's. The candlelight meeting. There was another meeting. It was a Sunday night meeting at the Holiday Inn on Franklin, downtown Holiday Inn. That was a Sunday night meeting. So those are the 3 meetings that were around when I came in '83.
There was a lot of excitement about being clean back in those days. It wasn't a whole lot of us, but we would get together and we would go to little establishments and drink coffee, but you knew if anybody was missing. You really knew because, like I said, the numbers were few in this area, and the spirituality kept drawing me in.
Well, in '84 and '85, I knew everybody in Narcotics Anonymous in the Richmond area and also probably the Tri-Cities area. We recognized each other, and we were all scared. We were all scared of using, so we hung together. I was tired of living the way I was living, and everything I tried was not working. Well, I was complaining to my sponsor that my work schedule, if I was going to keep my job, I couldn't go to all the NA meetings because of my work schedule, and there was only 4 or 5, and I could make it to 1.5 each week. And he said, start a meeting you can go to, which was a pretty simple answer. I said, really? I got 5 months clean. He said, you got a basic text and you know how a meeting goes. So I did. I started a meeting I could go to, and it was the Easy Pace group. I started that meeting in February, I believe, of 1985, and that meeting's still going on.
My worst time, oh my worst time in Narcotics Anonymous or being clean, you know, there is no worst time in being clean. I'm trying to remember. Maybe my second divorce and be coming home with 3 children. That was probably my worst. My worst. I was 9 years clean, going through a second divorce in Narcotics Anonymous. I was never good at relationships. Um, and I went from one to the another because I didn't think I was good enough to be on my own. And I didn't think I could do it on my own. And I had 2 small children when I got clean. And then I got married a second time and had a third child. So I didn't know how I was going to take care of these children by myself. And at 9 years clean, I was riding down the road and I was homeless or becoming homeless with 3 children. And I just started looking at trees on the highway, trying to figure out which one I could hit and take me out. That was probably my lowest low in recovery.
I don't have any worse times. Oh, here's one. Here's one. Yeah. When I came home from the halfway house, I was working, going to meetings, but I would spend my days in the movies uh, because I was depressed. And I just couldn't make it through a whole day. I just, like I said, I like being by myself. So I just sit in the movies until it was time to go to work. And, but that was a hard time. Folks would come to my house and bang on the door, and I didn't want to be bothered. And, that was a lonely time for me.
Worst time. Um, Parents dying and not having the fellowship I thought I did. Um, Taking care of my dad. My mom and dad was a little bit tough, and I couldn't make as many meetings as I had been making. My best friend hanging himself. Um, Another friend just went out and used and died.
Well, there's definitely um, ups and downs in recovery. Um, there's been some struggles along the way. Um, Divorce, that was part. But probably when I was about 10 years clean, I don't know what happened. I guess felt like I had kind of graduated or something, and my meeting attendance went down, and I got disconnected from the fellowship. I went to meetings regularly, but I didn't go like I had been. When my divorce started happening, I didn't feel a part of, and it was really hard to get reconnected. And I say it now, it's like it's easier to stay connected than it is to get connected. It's just like getting clean. It's easier to stay clean than trying to get
All right.
clean.
Well, the worst time I've had in life during my recovery, I think some of the more, you know, hard times in NA, sometimes a service meeting, the same act of service that's going to bring you the greatest joy in life can bring you your greatest source of frustration and disappointment. But I mean, I'm one of those. Oh, all right. Here's a good example. I remember when my first wife left, and I got, went through a divorce. You realize, you had all these friends in NA. You think they're all your friends, but then all sudden you realize half the friends are your wife friends and half the friends are your friends, and you thought they were your friends. So, stuff like that it can complicate things. So,
Worst time I ever had in NA was when I walked away from NA. I decided at about 4.5, 5 years clean that I had gotten all I needed to get from NA, and I gradually stopped coming to meetings. And over a period of time, my life started looking like I was using again. and I had not picked up. But what I had stopped doing was taking what I consider the medicine for the disease of addiction, which is regular meeting attendance and working this program.
Best time in Narcotics Anonymous. Oh, there were a lot of good times. Probably one time that I thought was real funny and real enlightening was going to a meeting for the VRCC. I was the vice chair of the Richmond area, and it was really getting to be a heated meeting. And Jeff sent me a message. It was a piece of bubblegum paper, had a little cartoon on it, said, "I'm prisoner in a bubblegum factory." And it just changed everything. I stopped seeing the seriousness and started seeing how what I was doing was important.
So I think the best time of my life was in the beginning, growing the area, growing meetings, growing Narcotics Anonymous in Richmond, Virginia. I think that was the best time of my life because I was still young. I was crazy, crazy wild. Like we just were out there having a good time starting meetings. We find a place and we bring in a coffee pot and we get literature from World and we just go. And then we find a place for the next night. And before I had 1 year clean, we had an NA meeting every single day. So we never.
I enjoyed my employment at the housing authority. Um, and that's where my service work, really came into play. Um, we had a outpatient program there. We would pick people up with the van, and we would take trips to different places. And I just thought that was super. I thought I was really helping. I thought I was really being a part of carrying the message. Well, see that's the most fun I had in NA. There's several levels of fun I think you can define. Of course you have fun at conventions, you have fun getting in relationships, you have fun making money, spending money, clean and in recovery. But I think my most serious, genuine, heartfelt fun is, once you have a spiritual awakening in this fellowship, and then you realize your value as a human being and what your work means to our community and the people searching for recovery, to watch people, you take them to their first convention and you watch them light up, or you go into a jail or prison meeting and you share that message of hope, and you really, you watch grown men in a prison cry and they realize they have a chance at life. I mean, just the joy you can get in your heart for that. So that's a level of fun too. So, service work, it's been in service work by hands down, whether it be spiritual, mental, emotional, fun, it's always as a result of service work. Service is where the honey is in all aspects of fun.
Today, gotten so many gifts of recovery, and they only made me one promise, and that was freedom from active addiction. But after I got that, all kinds of other things that I consider gifts started coming into my life. And as I did the work, which I did, I'm not going to say I didn't do it reluctantly. I did step work fueled by pain. I did it when it hurt too much to stay the way I was. But today is my best time in NA, and I look forward to better times. And one other thing, my wife always wants me to share about this. Today I have something I didn't know existed, and that is that I am happily married to another recovering addict. And I always say before I met my wife, I didn't know I'd never known, I laugh and say I'd never known anybody that was happily married. And that's not true today. I know other people who are happily married, and I am blessed to be one of them. I'm married to another recovering addict who has 27 years.
You know, the NA's given me a life that's brought a lot of fulfillment in my life throughout raising my kids. I've had a successful business. I'm 39 years clean now, so I've had a full life in Narcotics Anonymous. I travel. I do a lot of things that I wanted to do. I've lived just about every dream that I could possibly live. You know, the best times that the things that really get me excited is when I have an opportunity to help this program grow in some way, shape, or form. I like carrying this message, and I've been trying to do it ever since I've been clean.
My message to the newcomers: don't use no matter what, and it will get better. Like my experience shows that if I don't use, there will be a solution. There's always been a solution in my experience. If I give up and I surrender to whatever it is that I'm holding on to, then the solution comes. If I pray, my higher power finds a solution. If I sit still long enough, then I hear the solution through people in the rooms, because I have to call, I have to ask for what I need, I have to let people know where I am. 25 years clean is the closest I came to using.
My message to the newcomer is to keep coming back. Don't use and go to meetings. That's what they told me. Don't use and go to meetings. Folks took really good care of me when I got here. And as much as I tried to identify out, it didn't happen. You know, of course, our collective message is that message of hope that, you know, new people, you can stop using drugs, lose that desire, and find a new way. But I think the best way to lose that desire is you got to find your greater purpose in life. You know, you think about it, as a new person, our purpose is ripping and running and ripping, you know, using drugs, destroying our life. Now, and that obsession is strong. Now, how are you going to lose that obsession? You got to find a higher purpose, a greater calling. And I tell people all the time, you're only going to get but so high on drugs. I don't care what drug you take, you're only going to get but so high. However, once you find that greater purpose, that recovery purpose, then you find that recovery high. And once you find your recovery high, which is going to be your purpose, you know, you're going to be a hope dealer, okay? You know, that's any good old-timer, they're carrying that message of hope, and they get great purpose in that. And that's much better than the drug get high. And that purpose is progressive. It gets better and better and better. That drug high will only get worse. So once you find a greater purpose, you know, we as addicts, we like the good shit, right? You know, we want the good shit, right? Well, when you find the good shit in recovery, you ain't gonna want to go back to that bad stuff. So, you know, it all correlates.
The message to the newcomer is real simple. The fellowship is good. Practice the principles. Because if there comes a time when you can't get to a meeting, there comes a time when nobody's answering their phone, the principles still work. They always work. Because there you could, if you knew the spiritual principle, it wasn't like, well, the basic text on this page says this. No. It was, I knew the principle and I tried to live by them.
Well, I hear a lot of people say, keep coming back. I say, stay, don't leave. Well, when I'm at a meeting, I feel at home. I also feel safe. I'm with people who get me. And, you know, that's real important to me, because out there using, I never felt like I belonged anywhere. And always felt like I was having to try to be something I wasn't. And when I'm in a meeting today, I'm just Ed and I'm an addict and I feel at home.
My message to the newcomer would be read our literature, learn what Narcotics Anonymous is about, respect our meetings, and try to get serious about getting clean and recognize how powerful this disease is. It's not a game. It's not a competition. It's a life or death decision that you make when you come in here to get clean. And we have far too many people dying out there. And, you know, they told me in the beginning if I was sitting in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, I never had to use again. That don't mean you won't, but you don't have to.
As you can see, these predecessors started when there was very few addicts and meetings going on in the Richmond area. As a result of them, most of them talked about 4 or 5 meetings being there. As a result, there's over 200 meetings in the Richmond area and surrounding county. And with that, we are truly, truly grateful. So we thank you and hope you enjoyed this video.